Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. My name is Tanya Cantlow, and I'm the acting counsel to Brooklyn Borough President Eric L. Adams. There are 4 items on the agenda this evening. Please note that this hearing is being recorded to comply with the public law for transparency. It will be available for viewing on Borough President Adams' website, brooklyn-usa.org, or on the One Brooklyn channel on YouTube. Again, web viewers may submit timely comments to Ask Eric at brooklynbp.nyc.gov. Please call the first item and let us begin.
Calendar item number 190291 PCK.
This application submitted by the New York City Department Citywide Administrative Services and Parks and Recreation for the following land use action. Requesting a acquisition of a map but unbuilt portion of Drew Street between the center line of Spring Creek and the unbuilt extension of 157th Avenue, and 4 vacant and unimproved privately owned sites in Block 4585, including lots 165, 167, and Lot 225, bordering Brooklyn-Queensboro boundary along Ruby Street, 75th Street, north of 157th Avenue in the Spring Creek section of Brooklyn Community District 5, for assignment to NYC Parks for it to facilitate the ecological restoration of Spring Creek Park in partnership with the United States Army Corps of Engineers. Community Board 5 approved this application on April 24th, 2019. Will Bill Ty, the representative for this application, please state your name for the record and present the application.
Thank you. Again, my name is William Ty. I go by Bill. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to repeat a little bit of the introduction and also have a few words to help this slide presentation to describe our application a little bit more in detail. Parks, with our co-applicant DCAS, are proposing to select and acquire properties located within and adjacent to Spring Creek Park in Brooklyn. Specifically, the properties consist of 4 privately owned lots in Block 2384, as well as a portion of the mapped but unbuilt street that runs between those parcels. And that street is called Drew Street. It's worth pointing out that it's only built outside the park, and that it is a mapped but unbuilt street inside the park. The requested action would allow Parks and DCAS to acquire the subject parcels to preserve them as open space, and for Parks to continue to include this plan for ecological restoration in a partnership with the Army Corps of Engineers. For those who are interested in a little bit of a satellite view of the area, the light-colored area on the south part of this diagram are the old Penn and Fountain landfills, now becoming, as we speak, Shirley Chisholm State Park. Directly to the east of that is Gateway National Recreation Area, the other Spring Creek Park, but that's federally managed to the south of the Belt Parkway. And just above the large light brown area too are the Gateway Mall, Gateway Estates. The darker green property off to the upper right is Spring Creek Park, the city park. Here's a expanded view of Spring Creek Park showing the 4 parcels outlined in purple. In the upper right-hand corner there, you can see Spring Creek cutting through the park too. It's a respectable drainage. And for those who need a tax map too, another indication too of some of the streets mapped and unbuilt that go through the park. Most of the land use in the area is residential. Mostly, I think, I really can't read it, but I think it's R3, R4. And again, the 4 unimproved lots are privately owned, and they total 0.41 acres. The privately owned portion of Drew Street that is mapped but unbuilt adds another 0.54 acres, and that's a total of approximately 0.95, or just about less than 1 acre to be acquired. These parcels, again, are all located south of Flatlands Avenue, west of 75th Street, north of the Belt Parkway, and again, all are inside the outer perimeter of Spring Creek Park. This chronology I'll add a little bit to also. Spring Creek Park was originally mapped in 1938, and it has been expanded 3 times in 1992, 94, and 2001. It was originally 46 acres when it transferred to the Parks Department and is currently 105 acres. Acquisition of the privately owned properties that are the subject of the current land use application will add approximately, as I said, 0.95 acres to the park. All but one of the properties, again, as I mentioned, to be acquired are already surrounded on all sides by the park, and there's one property that's surrounded on 3 sides by the park. This will give you an indication, too, of the general topography and the plantings on the site. It's a wetland area, again, with early successional plantings in the area. Not very noticeable. And then this photograph here shows you actually Spring Creek itself on the left-hand side, and that's Drew Street in the background. In the early 2000s, Parks and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers began discussing began discussing the potential to restore and improve the ecology at Spring Creek. Historically, it has been negatively impacted by surrounding development, including the government's own work to dredge the federal navigational channel to the south of Spring Creek Park within Jamaica Bay. The Army Corps carried out their initial ecological assessments at Spring Creek in 2002, 2003. Work has continued with some stops and starts and has led to the Army Corps releasing their final feasibility report last year, recommending a project that will enhance and restore more than 35 acres of wetland and marine upland in the park. The project will be a partnership with Parks on behalf of the city and has an estimated budget of $22 million. So again, with these public benefits in mind, Parks and DCAS are requesting approval for this proposed action, facilitating the acquisition of unimproved, privately owned property to be included and preserved as part of Spring Creek Park. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. We have a few questions. The first question is, as this acquisition is part of a larger initiative to both preserve open space and to facilitate ecological restoration work in the Jamaica Bay watershed, there seems to be an opportunity for the installation of Department of Environmental Protection rain gardens along the edge of park boundaries along Ruby Street and 157th Avenue. What consideration is being given to coordinating with DEP towards implementing such green infrastructure to mitigate stormwater runoff?
Parks itself is looking at bioswales on the eastern section of Spring Creek, and we're also in discussion with DEP about how to use their own standards for green infrastructure and bringing them to Spring Creek Park too. But the tangible improvement that is actually part of this project, although it's not part of the Army Corps' work, is the Parks Department working with another federal grant to create new bioswales just on the eastern portion of Spring Creek. So we're obviously a big proponent of green infrastructure. And the entire project itself, the ecological restoration, will go a long way towards enhancing the functionality of the wetland itself. But we've looked at the periphery of the area and what possibilities there allow, and we're looking again at these bioswales, and we'll continue to look around the periphery.
So the Borough President is committed to maximizing quality jobs. Please outline what steps will be taken to ensure the inclusion and participation of minority and women-owned business enterprises and local business enterprises in the process of ecological restoration of the 35-acre project.
Well, this was my lesson of the day, so we were able to confirm again that not only does the city contracting protocol, but the federal contracting protocol call for not only minority and women-owned business support, but my lesson of the day was that on the federal side, they have a program called HUB, and that not only is Community Board 5, but several areas around the city are included in the HUB zone consideration for the feds. And I knew I would forget what HUB stands for, but historically underused business area improvements, I guess is the program. And again, it's ostensibly a local supportive program, and again, on the city side, both MWBE, local enterprises and disadvantaged contractors are supported through the contracting process.
Okay, Borough President Adams notes that the Ruby Street Park Border Street right-of-way is not secured from vehicles beyond a woven wire fence. In addition to acquiring the last property along Ruby Street, what consideration is being given to provide enhancements such as guardrails and/or sidewalks?
The consideration here, too, is that this is predominantly a Army Corps federal project, so the scope of the project does not allow the federal government to consider anything other than the ecological parameters of the project. But the city itself, Parks, is looking to have further discussions with DOT about what possible opportunities there are in the right-of-way and along the periphery of the park to continue to secure and enhance the security of the park.
Community residents have expressed interest to be passively engaged with this opening. Given that this is publicly accessible along its 75th Street, Ruby Street perimeter, would it be possible to provide for benches and lightly within the edges of the property or a street furniture should a sidewalk be constructed along the park fronting side of the street?
It's too soon to say, but it's certainly not out of the question. And just to piggyback on my last response too, the addition of street amenities in the DOT right-of-way will need to be coordinated with DOT. But in looking at the public outreach that will go forward with the continuation of this project, each of these considerations too that the public wants to prioritize, Parks will continue to move forward on too. I can't promise anything, but we're sensitive to the fact too that this area is very much a natural area too, and that there might be interest in the improved natural area.
Okay. So that concludes my questions. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Are there any speakers who have not signed a speaker slip who would like to speak? Okay, if not, Richard, would you please close this item?
Calendar item number 1 is closed. Calendar item number 2, 190286 HAK.
This application submitted by the Department of Housing Preservation and Development requests the designation of 3 properties located at 223-227 Vermont Street, 190 Essex Street, and 581-583 Belmont Avenue as an urban development action area project, and to convey such city-owned properties to a developer selected by HPD. Such actions would facilitate the development of approximately 45 affordable housing units in the Cypress Hills and East New York sections of Community District 5. Community Board 5 intends to vote on this application on May 22nd, 2019. Borough President Adams will hold off on making any decisions until he hears from the board. Would Aaron Buchanan, the representative for this application, please state your name for the record and present the application?
Good evening. My name is Erin Buchanan from the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development. With me tonight are members of the development team for the East New York North project, Sheila Bennett from East Brooklyn Congregations, and Ken Church, who is the architect on the project. Well, I can give it right now, and then Sheila will stand here, and I can just scroll for her, if that works. Okay. So
That's fine.
okay, great. So we're excited to be here tonight presenting the East New York North ULURP application. The proposed project will result in the development of 3 new 3-story affordable housing buildings with approximately 41 affordable housing units plus 1 unit for a superintendent. HPD issued a request for proposals that was designed to facilitate the development of small city-owned lots, and EBC, M. Lappin, and the Markel Group, the development team, were selected in April 2017 to be the team responsible for developing this project. The ULURP application was certified on February 25th, and HPD is the applicant on the application. This application is seeking approvals for Urban Development Action Area project designation and project approval and the disposition of city-owned property. There are 3 proposed development sites as part of this project, the first of which is at 190 Essex Street on the west side of Essex Street between Fulton and Folsom Place. Development Site 2 is on 223-227 Vermont Street on the east side of Vermont between Liberty and Glenmore Avenues, and Development Site 3 is located at 581-583 Belmont Avenue on the northeast corner of Shank and Belmont Avenues. So I'll turn it over to Sheila and do the slides as she is going through the presentation.
Once again, good evening. My name is Sheila Bennett, and I'm from East Brooklyn Congregations. No problem. Once again, I'm Sheila Bennett of East Brooklyn Congregations. We are the managing member. We're responsible for the community outreach, and we have built about 3,000 homes within the East New York North area. We are currently under construction with Spring Creek, which we currently have about 900 more units being built. We also have Markel Group, who's our managing member, who is also the general contractor for the project. M. Lampin and Associates is our managing member, who's responsible for the project manager and the pre-development. And we have Delacour, Ferrara, and Church, who are the architects for the project. The building, one of the buildings is located on Essex Street, and it's a 3-story building with 15 units. There's approximately 13,169 square feet, and the building's amenities include the laundry room, a bike park, and a recreational in the rear yard. In the area, that building is very accessible to 3 parks. It's also, the train is close to it, and we're close in the area, and we also have accessibility to Eastern Parkway.
Good evening. I'm Ken Church. I'm the architect for these 3 buildings. This building on Essex Street is in a contextual zone, so we have, our building is aligning with the adjacent properties. We're trying to fit into those spaces, keeping the heights similar. And we're using mixed materials, brick on the first floor, accent down the center, which is a public space, and metal panels around. All right. Okay. On our site plan, as you can see, it's an eccentric lot. It enlarges in the rear. We took advantage of that by making that a recreation area for the residents. The main entrance is through the front for the street. We're planning to put 2 new street trees on the sidewalk. We're looking into trying to make those rain gardened. The Markel Group is discussing that with different landscapers. We do have an interior court. It's a little more private on the south side of the building. Oh, okay. As you can see, our first floor, we've kept a lot of the utilities in the front to take up the majority of the street face to reduce noise and stuff for the residents. We have 1 apartment on the front, but they have both front and rear windows, so they can have privacy in their bedroom. And the first floor, they'll get light and area from the street. The rest of the apartments are in the rear. They open out onto our spacious rear yard. Okay, Belmont, let's see.
The other building is located on Belmont Avenue, which we have which is also 3 stories. It's 15 units, approximately 12,323 square feet, and it has the same amenities of the other building, which includes the laundry room, the bike parking, and the recreational rear yard.
Okay. This site is actually, it's a very nice site. It's located on a corner. Right across the street is a full block-wide baseball field, city park. The rest of the neighborhood is residential, low scale. Our building is trying to keep within that. We're using brick and metal panels. We're using sunscreens over the windows to reduce our solar heat gain. And we've pushed the building back off the property a little bit to reduce intrusions from the neighborhood, which causes us to add a ramp in the front so we have accessibility. All our buildings, first floor, are accessible and have universal design components involved. Okay, as you can see, our site plan, we have the ability to make a yard around 2 sides of the property. It's a corner lot, so it's not actually required to be a rear yard, but we have 25 feet with paved areas areas for the tenants to plant, and other amenities that'll back their flower gardens, things like that. Okay, our first floor, because of being open on all the sides, we do have the opportunity to have apartments on all corners. We kept our utilities in the center to allow more windows and more access for the tenants. As you progress through the building, you would enter on Belmont at the bottom, and you would pass through the building and have all your opportunities, your bike storage, your trash rooms, what have you, and you go right to the backyard and, you know, have your barbecues, things like that during the nice weather. Okay, Vermont Street.
This is the last one of our sites, which is on Vermont Street. It's the same similarity of the other buildings, 3 stories. This one has 11 units, and it's approximately 10,436 square feet. The building amenities are exactly the same, with the laundry room, the bike parking, and the recreational and rear yard. So all the buildings are similar.
Okay. Vermont Street is an infill lot. Around it are a few pocket parks a couple blocks away. There's a bus on Glenmore, and that's about it in the neighborhood. Okay. Again, our building is a little unique in this site. It's a split lot, and they're both contextual. One's 6A and one's 5B. So it limits the height of our building, and it limits some of our growth. Okay, now, on this building, we pushed the building back because, again, the adjacent buildings were there, and we put the main entrance on the side. We put a trellis over it to give it a more inviting feel, and we have the ability to go straight to the backyard, have a paved area, planting area, and basically enclosed for the tenants. There's an existing tree on the interior of the sidewalk, and we're planting a new tree. The new tree, we're going to try and have a rain garden in it, around it. Again, our first floor, we put 1 apartment on the street and tried to keep the utilities on the other side, limit the number of apartments that are grieved by the traffic. The other apartments open up onto the rear yard, which is open. Okay, this building has a laundry room, and it does have some bike parking. Okay. Every one of our buildings has been designed with energy savings for the client involved. All the lights are LED lights, very high efficacy. All the utilities are being maximized. We have Mitsubishi split systems, high efficiency heating, cooling systems, all Energy Star rated. As I said before, all our first floor units are universal design and accessible for the handicapped. We're following the Enterprise Green Communities Energy Program and trying to make these as environmentally friendly as possible. The Markel Group is now also focusing on a health action plan with the community, trying to get involved with a healthy foods program and local markets. And as I said, we're also integrating street trees, rain gardens, and not on these 3, but on the other adjacent ones, street seating for the clients. On Belmont, we'd have benches. And now Ms. Bennett.
As you can see, we have 22 one-bedroom apartments that ranges in the AMI from 30 to 70%. We have 2-bedroom apartments, which is a total of 19, which gives a range from the AMI from 30% over to 70%. And we have a range of incomes. The incomes do meet the qualifications of the community, which makes it affordable for them. And we found last night when we were doing some work that, as you know, there's not enough apartment buildings, but also making sure there's enough affordability for the residents of Community 5 and the urban neighborhoods to be able to afford these apartments. EBC and the Markel Group will be working with the local workforce and with the development partners. What we always do, we always try to go out to the community to make sure that we solicit to the Community Board 5 and Community Board people in the neighborhood and give them adequate training and give them availability of jobs. One of the things that we are very known to do, we do a lot of informational sessions that we had last night, which we had over 200 people who attended for some of the apartments in the area. And we do these informational sessions to make sure that the community knows everything about these buildings and to make themselves affordability ready and to make them ready for the application process. We do also work with we do a lot of local hiring for the superintendents in the area, because we want to give people who live there an opportunity for the jobs that's in the area. And they do know the area and they really work really well. 4 of our buildings that we currently have, that we manage right now, they are all run by local superintendents who live in Community Board 5. And they were also solicited in the area of getting jobs through Community Board 5 and through other local agencies in the area. I would say, we'd be saying with EBC and with Markel, we believe in working with the community, we make it accessible for the community, and we be able going outside of the walls to make sure that they are well informed. And we do a lot of things in churches, we do a lot in schools, and we will do whatever necessary to make sure that everybody's informed and that they do have accessibility for all jobs at all times. We also will be working doing the NWEBEs, which the Markel Group will be working directly with them to make sure that that is administered and we meet the qualifications for that. I know HPD has a mandatory regulatory for us to make sure that we hire and we meet the guidelines, and we will stay within those guidelines to ensure the project is taken care of and will meet all the guidelines. On February 25th, 2019, we did the ULURP application certification. April 16, 2019, we went to the board for the board review. We did the board review, community board review from May 6th through March 6th through May 6th. We also on May 1st are presenting to you, to the Borough Presidents Committee about our project. We have a 60-day review from the City Planning Commission and then a 50-day review of the City Council. We're anticipating with the ULURP process to be approved by summer of 2019, the project closing in fall of 2019, the construction commencing in winter of 2019, and the rent-out property to happen between 2021 through 2022 once we have the approval from the Borough President's office. And do you have any questions?
So actually, the first question was like a 3-part question, which you've addressed in one of the slides about the affordable housing. One of the questions that I did not see answered was the distribution of units by bedroom size, if you can address that.
I will give more than happy to give you that.
And also, if you could talk about the rents, I did see some rents there.
You did, yes. And I'll give you more details with that. The 1-bedroom units by 30% AMI. Okay. Distribution is 4. For 40% 1-bedrooms, AMI is 5. For the 50% AMI, 1-bedrooms are 3. For the 60% AMI, the distribution is 7. The 70% AMI, the distribution is 3, which is a total of 22. The 2-bedroom, 30% AMI is 3. The 40% AMI is 4 for the 2 bedrooms. The 50% AMI is 2. The 60% AMI is 7. And the 70% AMI is 3, which is a total of 19 units. And the first category, as far as rents, this is 21. The income bracket goes from $21,120 to $28,160, and the rent will range in that bracket from $472 through $576. For the next income bracket, which is $28,904 through $37,548, the rents will be $660 through $810. The next range of income brackets we have is 36,000 to 766 through 46,835, and that range will be from 863 through 1,044. The next one we have is 44,588 through 62,580, which the income will be 1,058 and 1,000 through 1,280. And our last break, which is the 70%, which is the highest we go, is 54,748 through 75,096, which is 1,251 through 1,512. And this will also be based on household sizes.
Thank you. Second question, given community concerns regarding displacement and prevalence of rent-burdened households, please identify what marketing strategies would be used in the tenant selection process in order to ensure the highest level of participation from Community District 5, especially those that are rent-burdened or at risk of displacement. And the second part would be, what would such marketing strategy start off with a financial literacy campaign to assist area residents in becoming lottery eligible?
I'm going to say yes and yes. The first part you addressed is about giving the information to the Community Board 5. One of the things, we do a lot of outreach. The district, the whole district. We do a lot of outreach, and I mean by outreach, we do personal informational sessions within whoever requests one. We will ask also Community Board 5 and the other community organizations in the area what they would like to have one of those informational sessions, to make sure that we have a lot of influx from Community Board 5 in that district to make sure that they are participating in the lottery for the apartments. And we have one coming up on May 6th that we're doing the same thing, and we expect about 300 people there. And we also are doing those, and we have a financial literacy aspect also. We work directly with HPD and with Housing Connect to make sure that everybody has the information, and we also work with a partner to do financial literacy also.
Okay, third question, I know you touched on this with the making it rain garden. Has there been any consideration for using like solar panels or white roof gardens?
At this time, solar panels are out of the budget. If there was a grant money, we would definitely love to put solar panels in. We have a large enough roof, enough area to make this project probably about 25% renewable energy. All the roofs will be white. That's just a requirement now, and they'll be reflective. In our buildings, we're trying to make them very energy efficient. We're using more insulation in the building to reduce our heat loss than is required by code right now. Our roof has got more insulation to, again, give a good hat so it stays warm in the winter and stays cooler in the summer. Other products that we're using in the building, we're providing renewable materials. The flooring is Floor Score, and it's a 50% renewable product. So these are all things that we're trying to help to change the environment and make the residents feel like they're contributing to saving the planet.
And within the budget, might it be possible to make the building solar ready in case that happened at a later date, since you're staying with the building long-term as managing of it?
I can't answer that necessarily. The Marcal Group would have to look at that as a budget, but it's probably easily done. In our case, just straight solar panels would just require a little steel dunnage on the roof and a specialized meter, which we're going to have anyhow. That's a new requirement.
And you also mentioned that for all the sites you are looking at rain gardens.
Yes.
And enhanced tree pits where you have existing tree pits.
Well, there's only one existing tree in the 3 sites. All the new tree pits will be structured soil, rain gardens, the required gates. And we're trying to find a contractor that actually is versed in that and done enough so that it'll be done correctly.
Okay, there are no more questions. Thank you. Are there any speakers that have not submitted a slip? Okay, if not, Richard, if you can close this item.
Calendar item number 2 is closed. Calendar item number 3, 190222ZMK.
This application submitted by Lemilts Petroleum, Inc. for the following land use actions pursuant to Sections 197-C and 201 of the New York City Charter, requesting a zoning map amendment of the southern portion of a block fronting the north side of Atlantic Avenue between Grant and Nichols Avenues by establishing within an existing R5 District A C2-4 District 4 depth of 115 feet along Grant Avenue to a point 100 feet from Nichols Avenue and 55 feet along Nichols Avenue to a point 100 feet from Nichols Avenue. Community Board 5 intends to vote on this application on May 22nd, 2019. Borough President Adams will hold off on making any decisions until he hears from the board. Would Frank, is it St. Jacques?
That's it.
Okay, St. Jacques, the representative for this application, please state your name for the record and present the application.
Good evening. My name is Frank Sajak. I'm with Ackerman LLP. We represent the applicant, Lemilts Petroleum, in this rezoning action. I'll run through a brief presentation, then I'm happy to answer any questions. This was already really stated on the record, but I'll run through it quickly. Again, the owner of the site is Lemilts Petroleum. They're requesting a zoning map amendment that would establish a C24 commercial overlay within an existing R5 district on a block front consisting of 3 tax lots located on the north side of Atlantic Avenue between Nichols Avenue and Grant Avenue in East New York. This is within Brooklyn Community District 5. This proposed rezoning would facilitate the development of a new 1-story commercial building on the development site, which is located at 3513 Atlantic Avenue. It's a single tax lot, and I'll show that on a later slide. A single tax lot, lot 54. It's about 9,800 square feet. Excuse me, the development would contain about 9,800 square feet of floor area and would have 6 accessory parking spaces. So that's an overview, and I'll walk through some of the details. This is the proposed rezoning area outlined in red with the development site shaded in red on the right-hand corner of the screen. So as was stated, the rezoning area is bounded by Atlantic Avenue to the south and then lines 115 feet deep and 55 feet north of Atlantic Avenue, and then Nichols Avenue to the west and Grant Avenue to the east. As you can see, the development site is at the corner of Atlantic and Grant Avenue. Here it is shown on the tax map with the proposed C2 4 district overlay shown mapped over it, again with the development site outlined in red and the entirety of the rezoning area outlined in the, do I have a pointer? Oh. Probably shouldn't have done that. I apologize. Oh. So apparently I have control of the television. So moving along, this slide shows a photograph of the development site. It's just over 18,000 square feet, 18,760 square feet. It's a corner and interior lot with 152 feet of frontage on Atlantic Avenue and 100 feet of frontage on Grant Avenue to the east. It's improved with 2 abutting 1-story buildings. You can see in the rear of the photo there. It's occupied by a gas station with an auto laundry and convenience store. The site has, or the development has about 6,300 square feet of floor area currently, and it's a non-conforming use. It was originally a BSA variance approval to allow this gas station use in the R5 zoning district where it's non-conforming. So as I've mentioned, as you can see here, the rezoning area also includes the adjacent tax lot, lot 1, and a tiny landlocked lot 107. Lot 1 is about 4,600 square feet. It's also a corner lot. It has 101 feet of frontage on Atlantic Avenue and about 56 feet of frontage on Nichols Avenue. It's improved with a small 1-story building and occupied by an auto sales lot with an open yard, as you can see here in the photograph. I don't have a picture of lot 107. As I mentioned, it's landlocked, but it's about a 625 square foot vacant, unimproved interior lot with no street frontage. It's my understanding that that lot is in common ownership with a contiguous lot that fronts Nichols Avenue. So here's some photographs of the surrounding area. North of Atlantic Avenue, on the mid-block, as I mentioned, it's zoned R5. It's the existing built context reflects the R5 zoning, so it's mostly residential, 1 and 2 family homes, and some multifamily. To the north along Fulton, there's some commercial development where there are existing C1 overlays, and then along Atlantic, especially further to the west, there's considerably more commercial use. The boundary of the East New York rezoning, which mapped R7A and C24 overlays, is 1 block away past Lincoln, which you can see here in a little bit more detail. Yellow represents residential, and as you can see along Fulton to the north, there's more mixed use and commercial, some light industrial uses. Along Atlantic, there are as well, and you can see the boundary where the C24 was mapped up to Lincoln. When this project was certified before the City Planning Commission, the chair of the City Planning Commission noted that in the East New York rezoning, the intervening block between Lincoln and Nichols was not included in that area-wide rezoning because it doesn't currently have commercial on the entire block front. So we're essentially seeking to map our site in the block front that's proposed to be rezoned with the commercial overlay because the entire block front is currently commercial. So here you can see on the left-hand side the current zoning. Again, it's R5, and we're seeking to map the C24 overlay within the existing R5. And you can see the boundary of the C24 overlay that was mapped in the East New York rezoning. So the proposed rezoning would facilitate the development of, again, just a 1-story commercial building. It would be about 19 feet tall. It's proposed to be a local retail use. The building we're proposing would be about 0.53 FAR, and again, that yields about just over 9,800 square feet with 6 accessory parking spaces. So we have some an illustrative site plan showing the footprint of the proposed building that would front on Atlantic Avenue with parking along Grant Avenue and a loading dock, loading berth in the rear. So you can see the new building is a slightly different footprint than the existing building, which is due to the gas pumps that are at the site, is really pushed back against that rear lot line. So this reconfigures it slightly. And then just some illustrative elevations of the building. An illustrative section showing the height. And just a tax map, again, illustrating our site, the development site, shaded in red, and the 3 contiguous tax lots that comprise the rezoning area. I will mention 2 things, and then I'm happy to answer any questions. The C24 overlay simply allows commercial development. The R5 zoning district regulations remain in place, so any development at the site would be contextual to the R5 that's mapped to the north. And due to the nature of the site being non-conforming, development as of right it isn't reusing this site for another commercial use would be difficult, and we think, based on some initial engineering reports, probably impossible. You would have to reconfigure the existing building to fit in a new commercial use in order to maintain commercial use at the site. So it's really sort of locked into the footprint of the building that's there now. or we could seek relief from the BSA again, or seek this zoning map amendment, which would provide sort of more permanent development potential, not only for this site and for the adjacent site, in line with the non-conforming use that's been there historically, but also allow some new local development that would serve the area residents. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
We have a few questions for you.
Sure.
So as this development would be removing a gas station, what assures that the subsurface conditions would be properly remediated, and would such remediation be to residential development standards?
So I can answer the first part of that question, and I may have to get back to you in writing on the second part. This project was subject to an environmental assessment statement, and part of the negative declaration issued with respect to the environmental assessment statement, 3 E-designations were mapped at the site. E-designations relating to hazardous materials, air quality, and noise. The hazardous materials E-designations require that site remediation be performed under the administration of the Office of Environmental, sorry, I don't think they're OER anymore, but and I'm forgetting the new acronym for what the organization that used to be OER will require that the site remediation occur prior to pulling building permits at the Department of Buildings. I'm not sure if it's been determined, at least it's not indicated either in the E-designation or within the EAS in our hazardous materials section, but I can get back to your office on whether or not that's to a higher standard for residential or some different standard for commercial use that's contemplated here.
Okay. The second question deals with. It's okay. Second question deals with the Borough President's policy to promote the use of sustainable and renewable energy. It is also the Borough President's policy to promote practices to retain stormwater runoff. What consideration has been given, possibly in cooperation with the Department of Environmental Protection, the Mayor's Office of Sustainability, NYSERDA, NYPA, towards incorporating passive house design, solar panels, blue, green, or white roof covering, and/or DEP rain gardens?
So we're aware of the Borough President's policies relating to sustainability. Our client has not, or the applicant has not made specific plans with respect to incorporating sustainability into this project. It's still, all the plans are illustrative at this point. They're open to that and would be happy to continue working with your office and the community board to employ those measures at this project. I will note that 4 new street trees would be required with the rezoning, or sorry, with new development if it were to be rezoned. So I think there's some opportunities here to incorporate some of those measures, and we'd be happy to continue that conversation.
And the last question deals with the Borough President's policy. He's always interested in maximizing good quality jobs. What steps will be taken to ensure the inclusion and participation of minority and women-owned business enterprises and local business enterprises in the process of construction on this site?
So this is something we've also discussed with the applicant. There's no plans in place at this point, but again, we're happy to continue being in touch with your office. We haven't met yet with Community Board 5, but I know that they'll be a great resource for assisting in that regard. I think as we're this project to be, or the site to be rezoned, we'd be happy to continue to be in touch. And I'm also happy to submit these commitments in writing to your office.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would anyone like to speak that has not submitted a speaker slip? Okay, if not, Richard, if you can close this item.
Calendar item number 3 is closed. Number 4, 180164ZMK and 180165ZRK.
These applications submitted by Sierra 4 Realty LLC are for the following land use actions: requesting a zoning map amendment of a block front from R 5B/C2-3 to R6A 62-3, a zoning tax amendment to designate a mandatory inclusionary housing area to facilitate a mixed-use development of 9 dwelling units, or approximately 11,900 square feet of residential floor area and approximately 5,000 square feet of ground floor commercial floor area on the north side of Avenue U between McDonald Avenue and Lake Street in the Gravesend section of Community District 11. Community Board 11 voted to approve this application with conditions. Would Walter Maffei,
Show up there.
the representative for this application, please state your name for the record and present the application?
Sure. My name is Walter.
Use the mic. Okay. Uh-huh.
Sorry,
Okay.
I feel important. My name is Walter Maffei. I'm an architect, and I'm the applicant for the rezoning for 273 Avenue U in Brooklyn, New York. The application is for converting the area from an R5B to an R6A C2-3 zone. There is currently an existing R6A C2-3 zone, which is directly across the way on McDonald Avenue. And this is a simple matter of trying to carry that same zone across the way within 100 feet and to cover the area that consists of McDonald Avenue, Avenue U, and Lake Street. What you see here is a proposed building that fits within the basic congruence of a 4-story building, keeping the existing commercial use on the first floor and adding 3 more floors above, utilizing a superimposed structure, allowing for the increase in residential units within that area. Currently, housing is a major need within this area, and my client proposes, by the way, my client, as you know, or should know, is Joe's of Avenue U, who is the owner of the existing restaurant, which is a landmark restaurant that's been in existence for over 50 years within the Gravesend area. One of the biggest issues that has been proposed or that has been made known to us is the fact that the community wants to maintain the existing restaurant because it is such an integral part of the fabric of the neighborhood. It's been there for that length of time, which is half a century, and it provides stability and a sense of stability for the Italo-American community that's been there for that length of time. But moreover, it invites people from all parts of Brooklyn to come, be invited, and to share in the delicacies that Joe's of Avenue U is known for, which is primarily a Sicilian delight. We propose, the owner proposes, to maintain Joe's of Avenue U along with the commercial strip that already exists, and to build above that with 9 units of housing. The units will be comprised of 2-bedroom apartments, which is adequate enough for a family. There are additional possibilities of converting these apartments to 3-bedroom apartments, provided that the market calls for it. We're looking at a growing need for housing within the area, and our proposal provides for that. We're looking also to look at sustainability for this building. The building itself is going to be sourced to local contractors because the area is primarily occupied by many, many different contractors and artisans who have been there for many years, and I'm sure that the owner will have no objections to hiring people, both WBE, MBEs, and so on, with regards to creating this building. Its main character and its design character is to stay within the contextual height of the local buildings around it. It is very close to the F train, which is on McDonald Avenue. It will have soundproofing for the windows, and also we are looking into the fact of providing either solar engineering in the structure, provided it makes sense economically. And also, we're looking to look at watershed issues so that we can create gray water for the building so that we are 100% recyclable. These are our primary goals. Again, a lot of this is going to be contingent upon the financial impact on the construction of the building, but I think that the owner is committed for purposes of long-term investment within the community, given the fact that they've been there for over 50 years and want to continue as a primary location. Questions?
I have about four questions, actually. First question is regarding the depicted height of the building. Given that the zoning permits a taller building to be developed, what assures that the building would be constructed to such height?
Well, I think I answered that in that we're trying to be contextual with the current existing building, which is immediately to our right on Lake Street.
But nothing in the zoning makes you contextual, so we're looking for more of an answer.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think that the owner wants to go beyond the 4 stories, purely for economical reasons, because going above that is going to create a whole host of different issues that come into play. That's one of the reasons why they wanted to hold it to a 9-unit development.
Again, that doesn't guarantee anything, so you take back that
So-
the idea of a guarantee might be a stronger consideration.
Well, as far as
Not committing tonight, but.
No. But as far as the guarantee is concerned, the only person who would be actually able to give you that guarantee would be the owner himself. And he's here, so he can grant you that if he wishes.
If you'd like to speak tonight or go on record after tonight, happy to take comments. Borough President has to submit the recommendation by May 17th.
I would have him come up and make that recommendation. By the way, this
You can
is
state your
Mr.
name for the record.
This is Mr. Joseph Charamitaro. He.
Actually, for the record, my name is Giuseppe Charamitaro.
Oh,
Everybody
geez,
calls
I
me
forgot.
Joe.
I'm
but-
sorry. This is Big Joe.
My grandfather was the one
You
who
could lift the mic up if it's easier on you.
my grandfather was the one who started Joe's, and over time was able to purchase the property on which it stands. Again, we are very concerned with making sure that the building that we create is within the contextual height. We don't want to go too high. We're not we're not these rich land developers or anything like that. We're just this is our only piece of commercial property, and I don't think that the investment required for making a much larger building would be more than we could withstand. If what you need is a guarantee from me that we won't go more than 4 floors, then I'm totally happy to give that guarantee.
So the process is subject to final say by the city council member, so certainly between now and the time the council is looking to weigh in on this, if this is something important to the council member, yes, they'll let you know.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes. Okay, so the next question actually deals with this is the Borough President's policy to promote renewable and sustainable energy. But they answered that. I'm sorry. Since we talked about
In my prelude, I believe that I had answered that. We're looking to incorporate energy conservation according to the New York City Energy Code. Moreover, we're looking at the possibilities of creating a gray water recycling system within the building, and also solar energy within canopies, which would allow us to possibly create energy in the building itself. There are new technologies that are coming every day. Part of that would be the facade itself, which would be energy creating. However, those things are for the future. At this point in time, we're looking to make sure that we are able to move forward with the rezoning, and at that point, we would move forward with looking at every aspect of trying to conserve and to create a zero-plus building.
I didn't get a chance to finish as we were talking. So the concern or the question really deals with the solar panels, or had you considered blue or green, white roof covering, or DEP rain gardens?
Well, again, the issue is that if we had to, we would create the roof as a DEP rain garden.
Well, the rain garden, talk about the sidewalk area.
Oh, no, the sidewalk area is a separate issue. Essentially, most of these buildings here would have a roof weir for retention of water, and the DEP rain gardens would be a question of the street tree requirements, which is part of the paving plan for the city.
Well, you could go beyond the street tree requirements to coordinate with DEP to do more extensive
Absolutely.
village pavement plan.
Absolutely. The only problem I have is that this is basically a commercial building. The frontage is along the commercial street, and then you have a short facade along the residential area. So I don't really see too much. The saving grace is there's no curb cut.
The side street may actually be the stronger candidate.
That's exactly right. My suggestion would have been that DEP would be entirely welcome to create the entire Lake Street front as a natural.
Well, they don't actually
I
do the
know.
undertaking, but if you want to coordinate with them and their resources,
But
that's the idea.
But the idea is to provide the city with the opportunity to have that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what we're looking for. We're not looking to try to weasel our way out of our responsibilities. In fact, we're looking to encourage working with the city with regards to both the feasibility of creating something like this and also fitting into an environment which has become more and more sensitive environmentally. Next question.
Okay, so the next question deals with the commercial floor area. What consideration has been given to retaining the existing businesses both during construction and after completion?
Okay, this is a complicated matter with regards to keeping what we have based upon the physical constraints of actually building above an existing structure. There are two ways to go about doing this. The first way of doing this would be to ascertain whether the structural design of the new building will impact upon the existing structure in a damaging effect. I have to tell you that there are projects in Brooklyn that I've been aware of and I'm familiar with where they actually have sunk columns within existing ongoing spaces without too much interruption. Furthermore, many of the construction aspects of this building can be workarounds, but that's not a cost-saving measure. In fact, it'd probably be more expensive to keep the tenants in place rather than to vacate the premises and just start anew. The problem here, again, is going to be a budgetary issue. It's going to be a question of whether the owner can actually afford to maintain the tenants in place. I do know that the owner has, in fact, a clause in his leases with the tenants that allows them to vacate the premises, and I've been assured that he will provide for them to come back once the building is complete. Now, as far as the easiest solution would be simply to demolish the existing building and to build new. Very simple. Again, budgetary items that have to be worked out and established as what they can afford to do and what they can't afford to do.
So the last question, actually, and you touched on this a little bit, ensuring that MWBEs will be worked on with this particular project. Have you taken any steps to implement that?
Well, you know, it's hard to go out and start bidding a project when you don't even have zoning approval. So unless I'm guaranteed by the city that I have a zoning approval, how am I going to go out and start soliciting bids? I can do preliminary work. MBEs and WBEs are basically extremely important to us. I, as a former employee from the Department of General Services, do understand this. I have worked with many, many different locales, including this one. In fact, I remember putting up the gilding up here, which was really a hard job to do. But I'm not trying to digress from the statement. It's hard.
It's less so about what you've done today, but it's more about moving forward. When you get to the point of having the approvals, the concepts you would have towards bringing in these kind of uses.
Well, listen, the issue is this, that when you bid out a job, you bid the job out to the most capable person. Whether it's an MBE, WBE, makes no difference. There's no chauvinism involved in this. This is a question of dollars and cents. I'm not hiding the fact that it's going to be extremely important to meet budgetary requirements, as stated before, because it's all a question of dollars and cents and what we can afford and not afford to do. So when it all comes down and gets distilled to a point where we know that this project is going to go forward, we need to know that we're able to afford it, get it accomplished within a certain period of time, and to make it a successful project.
So I think the key here is the awareness process of allowing firms that are MWBE and LBE suppliers to be aware of the opportunity to compete.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the key. That's the type of steps we'd be looking for as you move further.
Absolutely. And by the way, that all is going to be advertised when we go ahead and move forward with the project itself. I mean, you know, this is not going to be under some rock. This has to be out and open. And I'm sure that the design team and the construction team will be open to any and all bids.
Okay, thank you. That concludes our questions. Are there any speakers that would like to speak? Okay, Richard, if you can close this item.
Calendar item number 4 is closed.
The hearing on these items is now closed. Thank you for participating in this public hearing. Borough President Adams will review the applications we heard today and will soon submit his recommendations to the City Planning Commission. Borough President Adams would like to take this opportunity to remind you that the City Planning Commission will hold a public hearing on these items. The hearing is now adjourned. Borough President Adams would like to remind those viewing on the website that timely comments can be submitted by email to askeric@brooklyn.nyc.gov.